Hey everybody, welcome back to an episode of The Elite, the Elite Count. I am War Machine MJ, and I'm here today to talk about AEW Dynamite from June the 17th. So let's go ahead and kick off the show. We immediately kicked off with AEW Tag Team Championship action as the champs Hangman Adam Page and Kenny Omega defended against the Natural Nightmares. Of course, that's the team of QT Marshall and Dustin Rhodes. Of course, not everything has been kosher in the Natural Nightmares camp as a fourth wheel has joined the fray. Of course, the Natural Nightmares are usually accompanied by Brandy Rhodes, and Allie has taken some sort of fancy to QT Marshall. Hasn't been all bad. QT's gotten more hair. He's a bit more fluid in the ring. Early on, there was a pretty nasty spot. Looked like Dustin got his bell rung, where Kenny was in the corner and Dustin came charging in, and Kenny basically tried to pop up over Dustin as he came charging in, but one of his knees made contact with Dustin's head, just kind of rattled him a bit. But in the end, however, QT Marshall got his ass whooped by both Kenny and Page as they just unleashed a cavalcade of deadly double teams, which led to the last call to get the victory. Of course, during the whole match, Tony Schiavone kept getting notes from Britt Baker, who was just spitting distance from him. So yeah. Next, we had a get to know you video package for Anna Jay, one of the latest recruits for AEW's women's division. And when we came back from commercial, we had Anna Jay taking on Abaddon. Now, Abaddon just got signed by AEW earlier in the day. And this was a pretty fantastic match. And before, just like jump into um, the closing part of this match, Abaddon just looks absolutely disgusting, and it is not an insult. It is effectiveness with the whole makeup, because of course she's got two different colored contacts, a black and white one in one eye, and then a just a burning red in the other, and the eye that's got the burning red, the makeup on her face on that side just looks like rotting flesh, and she carries herself like a horror movie character, and yeah, did a quick research on of course the um, the folklore of Abaddon. Of course, it was, well, it's a Hebrew term meaning doom, which you could pick up some supernatural elements of the character. Um, it's the Greek equivalent of Apollyon, and it appears in the Bible as both a place of destruction and an angel of the abyss. In the Hebrew Bible, it references a bottomless pit, um, appearing alongside the realm of the dead. Just quick, short work, so there's a lot to mine there for it. But this was a quick match as Abaddon just basically outclassed Anna Jay at every turn. And yeah, Abaddon put away Anna Jay with a low Hurricane Rana. After the match, after Abaddon had slunk away into the bottomless pit, the Dark Order came out. Came out in full force. Brody Lee, Evil Uno, Stu Grayson, and the rest of the gang. Brody Lee stood on the stage as he watched Stu Grayson and Evil Uno roll up to where Colt Cabana was at ringside and hand him a contract for a tag team match next week on Dynamite. Meanwhile, Tin and the other Dark Order boys helped Anna Jay, who was still in the ring, helped her to the back. So, it seems like Brody Lee is trying to diversify his portfolio, which is smart. You want to go after every avenue you can in a business. Next, we had MJF taking on Billy of the Gun Club. Of course, this came about last week when MJF started running his mouth towards Billy and Austin of the Gun Club. Of course, this week Billy was accompanied by both Austin and Colt, I think that's his name. I don't know, one of his other boys who's, let's face it, he's a monster like Billy. I mean, all three of them gun boys, they're monsters. Of course, this was a fun enough match. Of course, MJF had absolutely zero answer for Billy's imposing strength, so he decided to work over his legs. Of course, they did that whole bit where MJF gets the better of Billy. He's gonna, start talking trash to the crowd and then back up right into Billy and just have that look of, he's right behind me, isn't he? Well, the finish came when Wardlow had distracted the ref, drawing Billy's attention. Of course, Wardlow then flatlined Austin Gunn. And while everybody was paying attention to Austin, Wardlow tossed MJF the big-ass diamond ring. Billy stepped out of ring, decked Wardlow one good time, walked in the ring, and just bang right into the diamond ring, and MJF got the victory over Billy Gunn. Afterwards, MJF and Wardlow got into an altercation with Jurassic Express, turning into just a big-ass brawl where other wrestlers hopped the barricade to separate them. Next, we had a backstage interview where Chris Jericho was it was a Lay Sex Gods interview. So yeah, let me start there. Chris Jericho got asked by Alex Marvez, why did you beat up Orange Cassidy? Which Jericho responded, why is your head so fat? But no, basically the gist of it was Jericho in the Inner Circle had to teach Orange Cassidy a lesson for inadvertently sticking his nose in Inner Circle business. And of course, Sammy Guevara backed that up by saying they beat the pulp out of him. And yeah, Sammy Guevara also added to it that they're going to do the same thing to the Best Friends. Next, we had Tony Schiavone, who was making the announcement that Penelope Ford will be challenging Hikaru Shida for the AEW Women's Championship at Fyter Fest. Of course, he did that right beside Britt Baker, who was just PO'd that he did that, that he waddled all the way over there to announce that, and that they were on friendship timeout. Then she ordered Rebel, her assistant, to drive the cart, but it wasn't Rebel. It was Big Swole, who did the Undertaker where to Steph bit. But she said, "Where to, Doc?" Then then Big Swole was talking all sorts of trash as the car was as the cart was driving away, calling calling Britt Baker a trick and a tiny heifer. It was hilarious. Uh, as Britt Baker was screaming her head off. Next, we had Cody's open challenge for the TNT Championship, but he started the promo off talking about being lonely. You know, he he wonders if he's part of the elite, or is the Nightmare family really a family, and talk about how there was nobody there for him last week when the Inner Circle, were attacking him and Arn. I mean, what does he mean by nobody? I'm sure Private Party and Matt Hardy were there to help out. So, there's speculation that he could be starting a heel turn right there. But then he handed the mic off to Arn, and Arn basically said, "Well, you're not ready for Hager, but he did find somebody who will basically give him a warm-up match." And when I saw this video package, I lost my mind, because it was none other than former NWA television champion, Stroke Daddy, absolute perfection, Ricky Starks. Now, I'm a big fan of Ricky Starks back when he was in NWA. My first thought of him was, this guy is super cocky. Stroke Daddy, what kind of name is that? But then seeing him over the course of NWA's 2 seasons, and I'm just like, holy shit, like this guy. Not to mention, he could cut a damn good promo. I still like that line he delivered when he made it known he was gunning for Colt Cabana's national championship at that time. Basically said, crocodile leather is my pleasure, but I gotta say, I'm sold on the gold. It's perfection. And Ricky Starks and Cody Rhodes put on a damn good match. Cody then put away Starks with a crossroads while Jake Hager watched from a monitor. It was announced on Twitter immediately after this match that Ricky Starks was signed by AEW. Of course, he got his picture taken with Tony Khan. So glad they signed Ricky Starks. Next, we had the Young Bucks taking on the Super Bad Squad, the team of Kip Sabian and Jimmy Havoc. Of course, Penelope Ford was at ringside. During the match, the Butcher and the Blade were at the Butcher and the Blade were at ringside, jaw jacking with the Bucks, and they decided to hop the barricade, try and muddy themselves in the match, and FTR came out to just try and square up to Butcher and Blade. Of course, the match went as proceeded as normal. Of course, Jimmy Havoc got a couple of tools involved. The finish came when the Bucks hit a double. When Matt hit a double Northern Light suplex on both Sabian and Havoc, then a super kick party, followed by Sabian getting tombstone pile drivered by Jimmy Havoc. Of course, they They threw Kip Sabian at Jimmy Havoc in a pinfall position, or in a tombstone position, while the Bucks super kicked Havoc's knees out from under him, having him plant Sabian, and they got the victory. Afterwards, it just turned into a big four-team scrum as Young Bucks and FTR fended off the Butcher, Blade, and Super Bad Squad. Next, we had a Under the Bridge promo from Taz and Brian Cage. Of course, Taz was saying how John Moxley is ripping off his miserable bastard gimmick. Taz started getting hot in this promo. You start getting fired up, and Cage is like, "Hey man, I gotta wrestle this match. Let me do the talking." So he was saying, basically talking all that good shit about how he's going to just kick the absolute shit out of Mox, and he wants it to be Fyter Fest so he can prove why he's the best and take the title too. Then there was a Mox promo talking about how he's ready to face Brian Cage. Next, Rebel found Britt Baker, who'd been missing for an hour. Apparently Rebel stepped away to take care of his personal business, allowing Big Swole to hop in the seat of the golf cart and take it. Britt Baker was down in the dumpster, and she was mad that Rebel had decided to take a little break and then fired her. And Rebel kind of, she said, "You mean I'm free?" And then Britt Baker decided, "You're hired, you're hired." Then she started grilling her, like, "Well, where's Tony at? Why is he not here?" And then, Rebel answers with, "Well, you put him in friendship timeout." And then she asked, "Well, why is all these cameras here?" "Well, to document you, document me finding you." And Britt Baker was mad because Rebel tried to capitalize on this. And then she vowed that she was going to make Big Swole, make Big Swole pay for what she's done by suing her. Yeah. Next, that led us to our main event as Best Friends took on Les Sex Gods, and Best Friends were basically tricked into putting their number one contendership on the line against Sammy Guevara and Chris Jericho. This was a, no pun intended, Dynamite match, which saw the Best Friends retain their number one contendership as Trent put away Sammy Guevara with a dude buster. Of course, Sammy Guevara did get tripped up by a cameraman who revealed himself while Chris Jericho was furious that they lost. The cameraman slowly set down the camera, took off the face mask, and took off the hat to be Orange Cassidy. OC then decided, OC then beat down on Chris Jericho, just intense OC. And the show closed with Orange Cassidy and the Best Friends standing tall while commentary announced that OC will take on Chris Jericho at Fyter Fest. That's going to be that's going to be a good match. So yeah, that is Dynamite in a nutshell. And remember, if you miss Rod and his opinions, he has a podcast, Prime Talk with Rodimus Prime. Go check it out on the Castbox app. Seriously, check it out. He could use a little bit more audience. So, that being said, I'm War Machine MJ. This has been the Elite Count. You guys have been awesome, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye-bang.